Hello and welcome to the Game Shop Podcast. I'm Adam.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we're going to be having a lovely discussion about an old game, but a good game, an old classic by the name of Rollercoaster Tycoon. So Ryan, how would you describe Rollercoaster Tycoon for those who have never played the game?
Alright, so you basically get a theme park. And most of them are blank slates. Maybe they have like one or two roller coasters, but the point of the game is to build up a theme park, get people to like go visit it, and get like a good rating.
In some of the scenarios, the objective is a little different, but right off the bat, the most basic levels are basically build up a park over time, make sure you have a good number of people in the park, and make sure you have a good rating, and that's typically how it is. And a lot of the fun comes from just that sort of natural progression of building and expanding upon your park.
You don't have access to all the rides available. So what you need to do is you need to research them.
Yeah.
To like gain access to even use them.
And that comes naturally over time, but there are ways of influencing what you get sooner rather than later, to a certain extent. So
you only have experience with the first game yourself, right?
That is correct. I've only really played the first one. It's one of those cases where... Actually, I don't even remember how we first acquired...
How did you acquire... That was my first question, was how did you guys even get the game first? Because, like, I remember getting the disc off of you guys. You just left it over at our place one day.
So, that's actually a really good question. I don't know if I have an answer, because a lot of my very early childhood PC games, I don't remember buying them explicitly.
Well, how did you like obtain them? Do you just remember them like just popping up one day, or like?
Well,
it's like yes, buying like is a whole another thing. But do you remember like generally when you got them?
I mean, it was definitely when I was young. I think maybe it was '98. I think. I don't remember if a friend showed it to us and then we got it through them, or if maybe because I don't know if you remember, but remember those Scholastics?
Yes.
The Scholastics book fairs and Scholastics magazines. Yeah, there's a point in time when Scholastics would, I mean, granted for the longest time they would sell things that weren't necessarily books. Things like keychains or plushes and
just like toy telephones or
little
like knick-knack things, toys.
Little knickknacks and gadgets that kids would enjoy.
I think I got like a radio like touchscreen thing. And I still have it in like this like right here with us. Like it's just like
yeah, I had like a caterpillar that I really liked because I really liked caterpillars and that whole bug line when I was a kid. But at a certain point, they started selling games and software.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, of varying relevancy and usefulness for students. So there's definitely.
When was Scholastics like available? Was that like during high school for you or like
no? I had that
school.
We had that in elementary school.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure, like, because like also mine was in elementary school. I just wanted to make sure that it was there. But I didn't even know that they sold software.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point they started doing it, and there was like varying degrees of software. Like there was definitely the more educational. Yeah. Here's like learning a language or
probably
just
like something like KidPix or something, if you know what that is.
Of course I know what KidPix is. We should do an episode on KidPix.
I know. But I think I still have a CD downstairs.
Oh jeez, that's gonna be a whole trip down memory lane. But yeah, so they definitely sold like educational stuff, but they also just kind of sold games sometimes. I feel like Rollercoaster Tycoon might have been one of the ones they sold, but I don't know if we actually got it from there.
I have a feeling you guys burnt it from someone else because like the CD I got from you guys was a burnt disc.
The other thing that I think might have happened, I think at first we might have burned a copy from a friend, but then eventually there was one time we got a copy in a cereal box.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that also.
Yeah, so I think Rollercoaster Tycoon honestly might have been one of the games we got in a cereal box when I guess it had kind of outrun its initial popularity. Yeah. But they kind of wanted to move copies of it, and so they signed a deal with General Mills or whatever cereal.
Yeah, I think it's Hasbro because remember Hasbro Entertainment was.
Yeah, no, but I mean the cereal.
The cereal box, okay.
Yeah, so General Mills or Quaker or whatever, whatever cereal conglomerate wanted to move boxes of their cereal, they signed a deal with Hasbro and put the game in the disc.
I was going to talk about that. Like I myself, like my first, I obviously played the first Rollercoaster Tycoon when I was younger, but like the one which I really played because I think I lost the original disc. for a while, and so we got it inside we got Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 from a cereal box that we still have. Well, not a cereal box, but I mean the game. Yeah, it was freaking awesome.
It was awesome. And like, before we even start talking about the game, as I mentioned, we recently sort of dusted that game off and started playing it after so many years, kind of trip down memory lane and just enjoying the game as it is.
We were just playing like how it's supposed to. Like when I first got the game, I didn't know how to read, so I was just doing things just because of symbols and stuff. That's how I played the game.
I mean, when I played the game, I knew how to read, but it was at an age where I didn't really put much effort into reading what was on the screen when I played games. I was just kind of going with emotions and just sort of figuring things out by trial and error. But just to bring up like what kind of put us on this trip down memory lane, about maybe half a year ago, I ended up buying Rollercoaster Tycoon on the Humble store. Naturally, I probably should have just gone for the first one because that's the one I actually knew of. But I ended up going for Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. Also, I feel like I'm mumbling the name. Rollercoaster Tycoon.
Rollercoaster Tycoon.
But yeah, I ended up buying the second one, and it was a triple thrill pack, so I guess it had the expansions too.
Oh, really? I didn't even know there was expansions for it.
I guess I wouldn't know. So I bought it about half a year ago, and it was just because of the novelty of that Mr. Bones Wild Ride meme. That is the only reason why I bought the second one over the first one, just because I wanted to make my own Mr. Bones Wild Ride. And for those of you who don't know what Mr. Bones Wild Ride is, it's basically just a meme of someone who made a ridiculously long and slow, boring ride in the game, and they decorated it with a skeleton. And in the game, you can name your rides whatever you want. So this person called it Mr. Bones Wild Ride, in an attempt to be like funny and ironic. It's this really slow, arduous journey for whatever poor, unfortunate guest goes on. Like, I think they mentioned in the screenshots of the meme, like, a visitor would go on the ride and they'd be on it for like 3 game years, something insane like that. And then of course they do something cruel, like they had the exit of the ride lead back to the entrance, and that's the only thing they could do. Something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I ended up getting the second one because of that, and I wanted to make my own. And I tried playing the game, but it had been years since I even played Rollercoaster Tycoon, so I completely forgot. And while the first level, I don't think it was too hard, it kind of scared me off because it was a significant jump and expectation of knowing what you're doing compared to the first level in the first game, which Ryan, you can attest to is one of the easiest levels in the game.
Oh my god, yes. I actually only ever beat it like twice, or just a couple of years ago when I revisited, because when I was younger I just did not know what an objective was or anything. I just made it just for the heck of it, just see how many people and how much money I could make over time.
And it is like the perfect just mess around and get a feel for the game, because the objective is so easy. The only way you could not get the objective is if you never opened your park.
Yeah, that's right.
Or
if your park was like empty and you didn't do anything to it except like put one ride in.
Essentially, you just have to do the basics of making a ride and kind of maintaining the park, and you'll win. It's easy. Like, in order to not win, you have to either never open your park and just sit there for like who knows how long, which would be very boring.
I think like every game I find is like at least an hour long.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous, but it's like so much fun.
It really is, just because you kind of get into the motions of managing,
maintaining, and just adding on.
And even as you witnessed firsthand, like when I play, I get really interested in making my own
roller coaster and ride.
Yeah, making my own any ride with a track. I get interested in just making a custom ride instead of using the default cookie cutter ones.
I used to only use the default cookie cutter ones until like a couple weeks ago, when I finally made my actual legit actual ride that was functional. And
there definitely were times where I would just put down a cookie cutter ride just because I was like, well, I need this roller coaster and I need money and I have a limited, and I don't know if I have enough time to achieve the goal.
Yeah, and even if you mess up, you don't get 100% of your money back if you want to if you need to change the ride because it doesn't line up or anything. Yeah, so it's a really money you have to invest a lot of time and money into it.
I basically used the cookie cutter rides when I was like, I don't have that much time to dawdle yet. I need to get this park up and running, and then when I feel more financially secure within the context of the game, or have a feeling that my park is doing relatively well, then I'll start making the custom rides. But making the custom rides was like one of the more fun parts of the game. But as you witnessed firsthand, even now I don't have the greatest understanding of what makes for a good ride in the game.
It's a really difficult thing, especially for like the insane like steel rides or thing. Like I find the wooden roller coaster is like the easiest one because you can't mess it up too much.
Yeah.
But all the other ones are like, oh my god.
I think what really kind of set me down this weird path in the game was I remember playing as a kid once and just kind of keeping an eye on. Well, I just clicked one of the visitors just to see what they were thinking.
Yep.
Because they walked up to one of the rides and I was like, why is no one going on this ride? And having little understanding of pricing affecting a visitor's likeliness to go on the ride.
Really? That's like something I always like. That was like first-hand like nature to me, even when I was younger as a kid.
Yeah, I just didn't understand prices so much. I feel like you've always just had a better understanding of pricing and economy-based things in games.
True.
But I just happened to click on this one visitor, and he's like, "Oh, I want to go on something more thrilling than whatever the ride was." I think it might have been. It definitely wasn't a track ride. It was maybe something like the haunted house or the merry-go-round. And so I didn't really put two and two together properly. I got something like 4.2 out of it, and I was like, "Oh, they want an exciting ride, so I'm going to make an exciting ride." So for the longest time, most of my custom roller coasters were like, "Okay, I need like really intense drops and high speeds," which led to a situation as you saw, Ryan, that where I created a ride that had really high intensity, or one of the stats. There's a couple of stats that indicate like how much enjoyment, intensity,
nauseating and whatnot.
But yeah, I had like a rating of like 12 or something, which is like which the game classifies as ultra high, and I had spent like the past 10 minutes trying to intricately build this thing to get it to work. And then I finally make it, and no one wants to ride it because it's way too intense. And then you one upped me with a ride that had like 14.92.
No, it was 16.
Oh jeez.
It was 16, and the nausea rating was like 12 or something. It was like the most ridiculous ride ever. Like, oh god. And I think I spent 20 minutes on that ride just trying to line up the exit of like the end of the track. It's like oh god damn it.
Something about as fun as making the custom track rides are. I almost feel as if the camera is like your biggest enemy in the game sometimes.
But I love that angle. Like, for some reason, like just having like a stable like camera. Like you don't get that nowadays in any game.
No, but definitely
you can go everywhere. But I mean, like.
But something about the isometric view makes it very confusing when you're trying to line up things like
tracks and
when you try to just like close the circuit or.
Especially the height sometimes.
Or even the height, yeah. But like as we recently discovered, there is a feature where you can see like the elevation of the track pieces, which is a godsend. Now that I know about it, but as a kid, I never knew what that feature is because something about the game.
So many things that we didn't know.
There are so many features. There's like water views and underground views if you want to make rides with tunnels, and I'm like.
Yeah, I've never did that ever, and I don't even know if I'm going to still be able to do it nowadays, but I mean...
I'm sure I could do it. I know I've definitely done it before in the past, but something about making...
Like underground...
Either paths or rides that go underground, I always felt it was such a hassle, because I never have like a huge plan when I make my rides. I just kind of like come up with it on the fly, which is not really good in terms of cost efficiency when you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to make a tunnel as well, because then you have to put in the cost of raising or lowering the ground or the water or what have you, and that in itself is a whole can of worms that I never really explored it once. I know I've tried it once or twice, but I never really got too far into it.
And also, speaking of things that we never knew, which even you found out new, was the research like funding into like
oh man,
into
that's
the
true.
thing, which is like even I think I only learned about it just because like. I found like the Rollercoaster Tycoon, just like, oh my god, I want to play this again, and I actually finally like literally went through everything about the game, like all the like little menus inside, and there's so many things which I didn't even notice, like even like the fun excitement rating and everything. I never knew that was a thing. There was, like I said, the funding. There's the advertisement campaigns and all that stuff. It's like, what?
The advertising thing was one of those. It was one of those things that I knew about, but I never really used it much because I mean, as a kid, you don't really connect the dots that like, oh, advertising means more people hear about it, so more people show up. I just saw it as something that, oh, I saw the word coupons on some of them. It's like, okay, cool, coupons. That's kind of cool, I guess. But I understand that it would bring more people in. I saw that it was, it costs, I guess when you think about it in one way, yeah, like, yeah, it kind of costs a bunch because, like, it's 200 per week or something. But the idea is that, you get more people in and you pretty much make that money back, hopefully at least.
And
unless the game glitches out in some way and doesn't bring a bunch of people in.
Something else that just reminded me was, I remember when I was younger, I had no idea what a freaking loan was, so I just I just took out a bunch of money because hey, look, it's free money button basically.
I'm pretty sure I did that once as well. In fact, the level that I'm at right now, I think is it Diamond Heights,
Maybe.
The 4th level.
I don't know.
That's the first level where, like I told you, the objective stops being, just have a bunch of guests and make them like your park, and the objective becomes have like a park value of 10,000 or something by the end of this period of time. And so as a kid, I didn't understand what park value meant. So I was like, I need $10,000. I just clicked the thing to 10. I'm like, how come I didn't win? This I don't want to do this. And I just went back to my level 1 park and just messed around some more. Because that is one of the great things about the game. I guess there is a sort of pressure or a stress element of making sure you meet the objective by the end amount of time.
Afterwards, you can.
But afterwards, yeah, it just becomes a sandbox. You could honestly, if you want, you could close down the park, destroy everything, and make a completely different park in that space. The game lets you do that, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you could also do that before you complete the objective.
Yep.
But then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot by wasting time and re-establishing everything.
Especially since you have to have the game running, because there's a pause button in the game. It allows you to pause the game, which is perfect. But you can't edit anything of your park or anything in that meantime or add anything new. It needs to be running.
Yeah.
Which means that you're the amount of time you're against the clock kind of at the start when you're making your park.
Yeah. I feel like granted, I've only played the first three levels of the first one.
I need it. Same for me.
And those objectives are relatively easy. Like we said, the first level is just have X number of people and have them
400 people or 600.
It's just have people in your park and have them like it. And the next two are the same objective but higher values that have more people
but they give you more time.
They give you substantially more time.
So much more time.
The first level you only have
1 year.
You only have a year of time. But
the other two levels are 2 years.
The other two you have 3 years, which is.
Yeah, because I think they start the year at year 2 on the things. I noticed that.
That doesn't make sense.
Or wait, was it?
Why would they start you on year 2?
I don't know, but I think I remember seeing it. I don't know, it might be just my imagination.
It would just make more sense to just only give you 2 years. That's more work than it's worth.
I know. I don't know.
I think one of the other things we were talking about is when we were rediscovering the game was that the both of us separately we used to enjoy saving the game and then just messing around by doing one of those roller coasters that launches things.
Yes, and either deleting the tracks or I used to do is also increase the speed, which you didn't even know was a thing until.
Yeah. It was that was two things that I discovered. It was that you could increase the speed, and that the powered launch option.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about the powered launch.
The only way I knew how to do that was one of the pre-built roller coasters. Mm-hmm. One of the steel roller coasters. It had one of the pre-made roller coasters called Shuttle Loop.
Yeah. Where
it basically shot the roller coaster through a loop-de-loop and then up a steep
part.
Yeah, a steep section of track, and then to the point where it would come to a halt, and then gravity would take it back down, and it would go through the loop again and go back in. So I didn't know that was an option under the ride settings, because certain rides there's different settings that you can mess around with. But in this case, you have the option to make a basic roller coaster, which starts, goes around, and then comes back in a basic circuit. Or there's the powered launch, where as the name kind of implies, it
launches you off at the start.
It gives you an initial boost of speed,
so
and then
you need to worry about going up a hill or gaining speed.
Yeah, which really opened my eyes playing it now, because as a kid I used to always, not knowing how to get the roller coaster up. It was like, you have to start with this, and then you have to go upwards with the chain.
Yep.
And like I said before, I didn't understand velocity or G's
gravity or
any of that, so I'd be like, okay, let's go as high as I can with the chain, which will be very boring at first, but then it'll get really exciting because it goes down really fast. But now that I know about powered launch, I'm like, I don't have to have the chains, I can just do this right off the bat, and it's great.
I'm gonna make a roller coaster now do this thing, because I actually have not done that yet.
And then there was the other thing I did in one of the maps that you saw me do, where I started my roller coaster on top of a hill or an incline, and then use that to, like, you know, naturally raise my roller coaster, so then I didn't have to raise the train as much, and then I could just use that height to kind of create a slope without having to boost too much and just pick up speed. So that was cool.
Yeah, like, also, I don't know why, but for some reason when I was a child, I didn't really care much of the roller coasters. Funny enough, I used to really like just like buying the burger shops and getting those like balloon shops, like those things were like the main thing I like focused on. I think most of the time as a child, like I literally just put the other rides just because like I know I had really like the park needed rides, so I just used all those. But I always like loved like research. Like, I didn't even know. Also, like. We also noticed you could research like specific things if you really wanted to, which I didn't know as a child.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, the first level I just like place like the sandbox mode. I think forever.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what an objective was. Even when I said you won, I didn't even know that it said you won. So I just continued playing forever and ever.
And just to interject a little bit, you know, when you do complete the objective, the game sort of celebrates it a little bit, but it doesn't make a huge deal out of it. It's like, you completed the task.
It looks like a pop-up message.
It basically pops up a thing, and it's like, do you want to put your name on, I guess, the level select? So like, when you load up the game and you choose which scenario you want to play, like Diamond Heights or Leafy Lake or whatever, it'll have like your name underneath it. It's like, oh yeah, you completed it on this day with this park value. But other than that, nothing really happens.
Yep.
Like you said, you could just keep playing forever.
Which is exactly what I did as a child, because I didn't even know that the thing said you continued to like you won, so I just played like forever and ever. Yeah,
you could just play forever and ever, and then it's like, okay, you did it, you enter your name, and then
you continue on.
Yeah, it's like all right, business as normal. You still have a park to maintain, so you can either just keep playing. You basically go to the menu and hit new game, and then it brings you back to the main menu, and then you pick the next world or do whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Alright, so I have a question for you. Even like when you were a child, like how did you set up your park? Because I have my own way of setting up my park that I've been doing like ever since I was a child, just because like
I've never had too much of a method of setting up my park, even though, you know, when I loaded the game, we were very fascinated to see how I did things.
Yeah, because like I said, like I only like played myself. Like no one else in my family ever played it. I don't think Sky ever played it. Sarah would always like watch me, or like I always just. I don't know. She followed my strategy because I like had to show her what to do because she was too young.
I mean, I think what my strategy was, and I still do this a lot. Although I've, you know, I guess now that I'm aware of it, I am trying to like deviate a bit, just to try and mix things up.
Yeah.
My sort of layout or my approach is I'll usually put the more timid rides closer to the entrance, and then I'll usually put my roller coasters and more intense rides in the back.
Did you like always do that even like when you were younger?
Yeah, even when I was younger, like I mean, I've only been to one theme park. I've only been to Lerone, which to those of you who don't know, Montreal, that's the one theme park near.
That's funny because I don't think I've ever been there.
I feel like going to roller coasters and like theme park stuff isn't as big of a thing nowadays, and both just where we are. Like I feel like it's a bigger thing in other parts of the world, but. I mean, granted, the fact that we only really have the one like roller coaster theme park near us, it's not a huge thing culturally.
But water slides are more.
Oh yeah,
here.
Oh yeah, no, we have
water slides more.
We got way more water slides. What I was gonna say about my park setup was, like, as a kid who had never really been to a roller coaster theme park, I think that was just my sort of preconception that you put the typical carnival amusement park rides that you would expect, so merry-go-round, Ferris wheel, and then if you want the more intense stuff, you go further in. So that's just kind of how I've done things for the most part. I think I did in some cases have a little bit of a transition in a sense. So I have a bunch of the basic rides, I have a not so intense roller coaster, and then I'd kind of put basic rides that I had unlocked along the way. So if I got something like, here's boring
bumper cars or something,
here's bumper cars, or here's that boring car ride, or the hedge maze, I'd maybe put one of those if I had space, and then further along I'd have the more intense roller coasters.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting because like my way of doing it as a child was like instantly at the entrance there's a courtyard, like literally a 5x5 grid of just like concrete, and along the sides is just like eating stuff, like all that stuff. And then quite literally how my parks evolved was I just put whatever rides like around the area, so I didn't even think about it. So I just like put the slides around like the courtyard and all that stuff. And then once like that the whole like everything around it got like completely like surrounded by rides, I literally just like made one path and then create another courtyard. And then pretty much rinse and repeat, and literally I just keep on going farther and farther and deeper into the park, and just like as I unlock like more rides, I just like put them along like that whole thing. I never even thought of like doing like simple easy rides like at the start, and in the back like do insane roller coaster. Like if I got this like roller coaster, alright, I'm gonna put it back here because I need the space, and there's space back there. So I'm going there.
Okay, so
where like I like position my rides to like be as cramped as much possible, and whereas it's just like
that is one thing that I used to do as well. Like I used to always sort of create food courts in a sense. Like I put the bathrooms and refreshments and everything all in one area.
Mm-hmm. Also, my parks were littered with benches and like garbage cans all around the sides.
Yeah, I feel
like everywhere.
I feel like that's something I didn't do as much as a kid because I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand. I think that was actually something you told me when we started playing again, that benches help reduce nausea.
Yeah, for some reason I put 2 and 2 together when I was younger, and like it's like, hey, but even like when I played Rollercoaster Tycoon, they actually have a hospital thing, which like actually like I literally just put like a hospital like medic thing right at the end of the roller coaster, just because they like literally walk out and then go to the medic thing and like reduce their nausea from the thing. Yeah. But in Rollercoaster Tycoon 1 they don't have that, so I put 2 and 2 together, like, and I realized that you could like if you put benches at the end of a nauseating roller coaster, the sick people will basically sit down on the benches and like not like puke all over the place.
I never really, like you said, I never put 2 and 2 together in that sense. I would put benches occasionally, but I never saw them as being super important. So I'd put like a few and then just forget about them while I was working on a convoluted ride. But just like jumping back to like the whole food court thing, like I said, have like the one food court. Yeah. And I don't think I put other.
Really? You only have one food court?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't think I ever put other
like areas like to get food. You just had that one thing.
I mean, like I think like playing now, I've definitely I've definitely started setting up other
food areas,
other food areas. But I think I'd only have like the one food area, and I think maybe I'd put bathrooms in other places.
Yeah.
One thing I gotta say about your courtyard system. So, like, you know, getting back into the game, currently, with my current mindset, where when I get into a game, I'll look up information and read stuff on wikis and get super obsessed with it. Yeah, that's
your thing.
That's my thing. That's part of the reason why we're doing this whole thing and why I want to geek out about games with people.
Yes.
So I was reading a couple things, and apparently, granted, you can play the game however you want.
Yeah.
But according to like this wiki, having like large courtyards is very non-optimal. Because the visitor pathfinding isn't very sophisticated. There are certain rules where if they're walking along a path, they won't turn around. If they want to turn around, they have to either get to a dead end or they have to get to like a junction and maybe turn through that. And again, with the whole visitors tend to go straight. So if you have a straight path that leads right into like the queue of a ride, then they're more likely to go into it. If you have a straight path, but the queue for a ride connects like in a perpendicular way, I mean, people will still go on it, but they won't be as inclined to want to go on it.
I never knew that was a game mechanic.
Yeah, and the other thing they were saying was that like in large courtyards, they won't necessarily know how to react. Because I guess my basic understanding of it is that, you know, they'll be in one tile and then going to the next, they'll go, should I go straight? Should I go left? Should I go right? So they're faced with one of 3 options, and even though they're more inclined to go straight, the game will occasionally make them randomly choose left or right. So having large courtyards, people can get lost in that.
Yeah, that's the other thing which I experienced like a couple like my previous game in my big courtyard. It was like, they're like, I want to get out of here, I'm lost, and I was like, god damn it, dude, you're right there near the exit. Just go there. You have a map.
I actually had.
And I would just like pick them up and.
I actually really goofed hard the other day when I was playing the game.
Yeah.
Where I had a ride and then I was like, oh well, this isn't really working out. So I kind of demolished it and was like, okay, let's just build something in the space. But in the process of demolishing it, I had kind of messed up one of the paths that connected from the exit of the ride back to the main park.
Oh god!
So I started getting all these notifications of like, oh, so and so is lost and can't find their way out. And I go to click it and like zoom in, and like I just quickly looked at it, and because of the isometric view and how my parks tend to get really crowded and condensed and cluttered, I quickly look over. I'm like, oh, whatever. I don't know what they're doing there. They can easily get out. And then a couple minutes later, I start getting more and more notifications. I was like, what did I do? I look over. I'm like, oh, there's like one tile of path missing to connect from like the path out to the rest of the park. So there's like there must have been at least like 80 visitors, all like walking back and forth along the same like three tile stretch of path. Be like, I'm lost. I can't get out. I had like almost a minor panic because I'm like, oh god, I'm so close to the end of year 3. Please don't drop my park rating.
Oh god.
I think I got to the point where I started like cherry picking some of them and just like picking them up and just dropping them off the exit. I'm like, fine, just get out. It's fine. Please don't hate me.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious.
Ryan, do you typically name your rides in the game?
Generally, I always forget to. I think I did it at one point, but like nothing like ridiculous. I know that you.
Oh yes, I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, when I was younger, I used to. I don't know. It was very pick and choose what I would name. Like I don't even know.
You actually named them like when you were younger.
It was very pick and choose.
But
I wouldn't always
even just the fact that you did that just I didn't know how to read or write when I played the game when I was younger. So that's how tiny I was.
I wouldn't always do it, but occasionally I'd be like, oh, I want to name this thing this for some reason. I think a lot of the time it was like a stupid joke thing or something. But I'd name it something. I'd be like, yeah, cool. And that was one of the cool things about the game was that you could name your attractions whatever you wanted, and they actually set it so that in the entrance booth of the ride, it changes the little text that scrolls across the sign.
Yeah, I didn't know. I think I might have known that eventually. I noticed that, but when I was a child, no.
Yeah, no, it was like really cool. But like I didn't always do it. But I think I would do it occasionally because I think on the second level of the game, your park starts off with a roller coaster, a pretty elaborate one actually.
Yeah, that's right.
That like has tunnels and stuff. And that one actually has a name. And so I was like, you can name it. So I started looking at it like, oh, I can name things. You can even name people too, as well.
Really?
Yeah. There's not much benefit to doing it, but there's actually changing the names of some of the visitors is that game's equivalent of like a cheat code system.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing really amazing. It's not like you have super game breaking cheats like, oh, if I name this person this, it gives me $10,000. There are certain things you can do, like, oh, if you name it after this person, and there's like a whole list of names, they're pretty much all just like the staff who work in the game.
Okay.
It's like if you name a visitor this person, it'll make everyone around them have like a really high happiness rating. Or if you name one of the visitors like this name, it'll turn all the visitors around them, it'll make their shirts purple.
Wow, I didn't even know those were things.
They're all like, I guess little like
fun things.
They're fun little novelties, if you will.
That's still really cool.
But yeah, so as you know, recently I've started naming my rides in my parks, and as you can attest to, they are all really stupid.
Oh yes, they are. That's ridiculous name.
I made you laugh the other day when I told you I named my roller coaster Fapple's Corkscrew.
Yes.
And to be honest, I don't even know what my process of selection is when coming up with names. It's like,
did you like name that because of like your park name was named something like that?
Oh, dude, I don't even remember what my park name was.
I thought it was.
That's how nonsense most of these names are.
Makes me almost want to go and like open up things and like see what those are now.
You would look at me and I mean, except well, not so much the first level because the first level was me just getting used to remembering how to play the game, which is a thing about the game. If you haven't played it in a couple of years, you're gonna jump back and look at it and be like, how do I do anything?
Well, you can like I myself never had that like problem. I more like just learned because.
I think for me it was I remember the game but not so much the controls. So I'm thinking, okay, this will be easy, and then I'm looking at this thinking, oh god, I don't remember anything.
Interesting. I don't know, maybe I just had a bigger connection to Rollercoaster Tycoon when I was younger, and
maybe.
Cause I remember like you bringing it over, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the coolest game ever.
I mean, it is a really fun game. I mean, we're talking about it now.
I know. Yeah, like when I was younger, I didn't even know what like the like how to make the lines for like the park. So I just use like normal like concrete like blocks. Like why are people going in?
So Ryan, before we start wrapping this up, do you have any memorable stories or weird things that you remember doing in the game?
Weird things doing in the game. I think there was one thing that I think like your brother Eric showed me. Like we made the tiger pit, which it consisted of a hole.
Yes.
So you put down like one layer down. And...
So just to backtrack, before we go into the story, one of the features in the game is that you can is that you can hire staff to help maintain the park, such as handymen who can keep the place tidy, technicians who repair the rides as needed and inspect them to make sure they're in tip-top shape.
There are police,
and there's security guards which
makes sure
make sure people don't vandalize the park. But
which actually happens a lot more in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2.
Okay,
because like in Rollercoaster Tycoon 1, I realized like there's no vandalism, but I remember it happening a lot in Rollercoaster Tycoon.
There is vandalism, but it only happens if your park is in a certain condition, like if it's not tidy enough.
Yep.
But if you manage to keep everything working well and keep people happy, then you technically don't even need security guards. You can kind of do without them.
I've never needed them.
So there's that. And then last but not least, there are the entertainers, which they basically walk around. They're essentially animal mascots who walk around and keep people happy. And you have your choice of costumes. You can either have them be a panda, which is the default, elephant, or as Ryan mentioned, they can be a tiger. So by hiring some tiger entertainers, you can create the tiger pit. So tell us about the tiger pit.
So from what I remember, what we did was we just like lowered down the train like one thing deep or whatever. And then we quite literally just put like fencing around it and then just shoved a bunch of guys and like a bunch of tigers in the center of it. And that's about it. That's all I remember.
And you can also, if you need to, you can pick up your staff or your visitors and move them wherever you need to if you need to. So like I mentioned before, with let's say maybe you mess up a path and you have a visitor who's stuck on a lone segment of path walking back and forth and is lost, you can just pick them up and put them wherever you want. Or in Ryan's case, you can, if you find a guest who's unhappy, you can stick them in the tiger pit, which seems like it'd be punishment, but just by the nature of how the game's designed, the entertainers don't do anything harmful. In fact, they make visitors happy. So if anything, you'll have people who are pleased to be in the tiger pit.
Yep.
One of the things that I used to do, it was something I would do in the first level. So in the first level, it's your standard sort of flat forested clearing of land, and often in the distance, I'd say more in the bottom right corner of the map, there's a small little lake with a cabin. Granted, the cabin doesn't do anything. It's technically a scenery item, but it gives you the illusion that there's a little like lakeside cabin. One of the things you can do in the game is that you can actually, provided you have the money, you can expand the territory of your park and increase your space. And so one of the things that I would do is I would buy that section of land, and it doesn't even need to be connected to your actual park. You just have to buy the land.
Yep.
So I would buy that little land, and I'd create a sort of utopia area for a visitor who I really liked. And granted, my criteria for a visitor that I liked was just someone who had a red shirt and blue pants.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say. I didn't even know that.
I don't know why, but something about that combination was just very appealing.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are even some other instances where I'd have drawings of people who had red shirts and blue pants. It just really looked good to me. But regardless, so I'd set up a little sort of utopia in that area and have them, in a sense, live there. So they'd have their own rides, which were free.
Yep.
And they'd have their food, drink, and bathroom facilities, which were also free. And everything they had there was free, and they could just be there forever. And looking back on it, that's kind of weird and creepy.
Yeah.
But as a kid,
you're like, oh, I love this.
As a kid, I was like, oh, I think he's my friend. I'm gonna make my
more
friend.
like a pet.
I'm gonna make my own paradise for my little friend. I didn't have too many rides, but I had the rides that for whatever reason I liked the look of.
Yep.
So I had a hedge maze. I had that car ride because I guess I think it was just because you can. I could change the color of the cars to whatever I want it to be. So it's it's my little car ride, little hedge maze. I don't think I had the slide.
Really? I love the look of the slide for some reason.
I don't remember. I really don't remember. But anyways, that was just a weird thing I did, and it made me happy doing that. And so with that, I think we're going to wrap things up for now. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
And like, if you had any stories growing up with Rollercoaster Tycoon or anything like that, leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your stories also. And other than that, we will see you guys later.
We'll be out sometime soon with another episode. We haven't decided what our update schedule will be or what our topic will be. We're still,
we're still in the process. This is brand new to us. We're still trying to figure out what we want to do.
We're trying to get a feel for the space and figure out how to proceed. But if you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below and we'll be sure to check them out. Once again, I'm Adam.
And I'm Ryan.
See you next time.